Most people think they know Pablo Picasso, Alex. They remember one strange painting, maybe a distorted face, and they think that's the whole story. But what if I told you Picasso wasn't just painting people differently? He was teaching the world how to see differently.
That's a strong way to start, Emma. Because Picasso isn't really about style. He's about perception.
Exactly. And that's why today, instead of listing dates and movements, I want us to talk about why Picasso still matters. Why his name survives while thousands of talented artists disappear. So, yes, today we're talking about Picasso, but more importantly, we're talking about what he did to reality itself.
When you put it that way, Emma, it already sounds bigger than art history. Picasso almost feels like a philosophical shift.
He really was. Picasso was born in 1881 in Malaga, Spain, into a world that believed art had one main job: to imitate reality. And from the very beginning, he mastered that job frighteningly well. That's something people forget.
Right. His early academic drawings are incredibly realistic. He could paint correctly better than most people ever will.
And that's the key point. Alex, Picasso didn't break the rules because he didn't know them. He broke them because he understood them completely and found them limiting.
That mindset alone explains a lot of his later work.
It does. When Picasso moves to Paris as a young man, he's poor, isolated, and emotionally heavy. This is where the blue period begins. And Emma speaking here, those paintings aren't blue because it looked nice. They're blue because that's how life felt to him. Cold, heavy, distant.
You can almost feel the silence in those paintings.
Yes, lonely figures, bent bodies, faces that don't ask for help because they've already given up on receiving it. Picasso was painting emotional truth, not visual beauty.
Then something shifts. The colors warm up.
The rose period. And I always see this as Picasso cautiously opening the door to life again. Circus performers, softer tones, more human warmth, but still fragile. Almost like he's saying, I want to hope, but I don't fully trust it yet.
That emotional honesty is probably why people still connect to those works today.
Absolutely. And then comes the moment that changes everything. For him and for modern art, Cubism.
The moment when people start saying, I don't understand this.
And that reaction is exactly the point. Alex, Picasso looks at the world and asks, why should I show an object from one angle when I experience it from many? When you look at a face, you don't know it only from the front. You remember it from the side, from memory, from emotion. Cubism is not distortion, it's expansion.
That's a powerful way to describe it.
Picasso once said something very simple but very dangerous. Art is a lie that tells the truth. And Emma believes this deeply. Cubism lies about appearance, so it can tell the truth about experience.
Which is uncomfortable for the viewer.
Exactly. Picasso never wanted comfort. He wanted honesty. And that becomes painfully clear with Guernica.
That painting feels less like art and more like a scream.
Guernica is war without glory. No heroes, no color. Just black, white, and gray. Picasso doesn't show blood because blood would be too literal. Instead, he shows broken forms, frozen pain, and chaos. Emma speaking honestly, it's one of the most brutal anti-war statements ever made.
And yet, he never painted the actual battlefield.
Because Picasso understood something important, Alex, the real damage of war isn't just physical. It's psychological, and that's what he painted.
People often ask whether Picasso was a political artist.
I think Picasso didn't chase politics, but truth always becomes political. He painted what he saw, what he felt, and that alone was enough to disturb power.
His personal life, though, complicates how people feel about him.
It should. Picasso was not an easy man. He was often selfish, emotionally cruel, and destructive in relationships. And Emma wants to be clear here, genius does not cancel harm. We can admire the art without excusing the behavior.
That's an important distinction.
Because pretending artists are saints does more damage than good. Picasso was human, brilliant, flawed, and often deeply troubling. And somehow all of that poured into his work.
What amazes me most is how productive he remained until the very end.
Yes, as Picasso aged, he didn't become quieter. He became freer. Emma feels like he reached a point where judgment no longer mattered. He painted like someone with nothing left to prove.
And maybe that's why his legacy is so strong.
I think so. Picasso reminds us that art isn't about being liked. It's about being honest. And honesty, Alex, almost always makes people uncomfortable.
So if Picasso were alive today,
He'd probably upset everyone again. And honestly, Emma thinks that would mean he was doing something right. When people talk about Picasso's women, Alex, the conversation often becomes uncomfortable. And it should. Because his relationships weren't just personal stories. They shaped his art in very visible ways.
you mean how each relationship almost creates a new visual language?
Exactly. Picasso didn't just paint women, he absorbed them into his work. Every major relationship marked a shift in color, form, and emotion. And Emma wants to say this carefully. These women were not muses in a romantic sense. They were deeply affected human beings.
That's an important difference. A muse suggests inspiration without consequence.
Yes, and Picasso's relationships had consequences. You can see it in the way faces fracture, bodies twist, and expressions become tense. Love for Picasso was rarely calm. It was intense, possessive, and often destructive.
It's interesting how that emotional intensity translates visually.
Because Picasso didn't separate life from art, Alex. For him, emotion wasn't something to hide, it was raw material. That's why his portraits don't flatter. They expose.
Which again makes viewers uncomfortable.
Picasso was never interested in making people comfortable. He was interested in making them aware. And awareness isn't gentle.
As time passes, though, his style becomes more playful again.
Yes, and I love that contradiction. In his later years, Picasso paints with almost childlike freedom. Bold colors, exaggerated forms, rapid lines. Emma feels like this is him returning to something essential, curiosity without fear.
Almost like he circles back to the beginning.
Exactly. Picasso once said it took him a lifetime to paint like a child. And that sentence alone explains so much. Children don't care about rules. They care about expression. Picasso spent decades unlearning what the world told him art should be.
That's surprisingly relevant today.
It really is. Because we live in a time obsessed with perfection. Picasso reminds us that perfection can be a prison.
There's also something timeless about how he dealt with criticism.
He ignored it completely. And Emma thinks that's one of his most radical traits. Picasso didn't ask for permission. He didn't wait to be understood. He created first and let the world catch up later.
That confidence borders on arrogance.
It does. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Alex, innovation often looks like arrogance before it looks like vision.
So when people say, I don't get Picasso, what are they really saying?
They're saying, this doesn't match what I expect art to be. And Picasso would probably respond, good. Emma believes he wanted that friction, because friction creates movement.
That leads us nicely into the bigger philosophical side of his legacy.
Yes. Picasso didn't just change art. He changed the role of the artist. Before him, artists were often expected to reflect the world. After Picasso, artists were allowed to question it, reshape it, even contradict it.
Almost like saying reality isn't fixed.
Exactly. Picasso treats reality as flexible, as something shaped by memory, emotion, and perspective. And Emma finds that deeply human, because none of us experience the world objectively.
So, in a way, Picasso was painting psychology before psychology had language for it.
That's a great way to put it. Alex, his fractured faces mirror fragmented identities. His distorted bodies reflect emotional tension. This isn't chaos, it's inner truth made visible.
Which explains why his work still feels modern.
Yes, Picasso doesn't age because human complexity doesn't age. Fear, desire, ego, love, conflict. We still live inside the same emotional structures.
There's also something brave about refusing to settle into one style.
Absolutely. Picasso never let success freeze him. The moment a style worked, he moved on. Emma thinks that's terrifying and admirable.
Because stability can kill creativity.
Exactly. Picasso chose risk over comfort again and again. And not everyone is willing to do that.
So if someone asks today, why should I care about Picasso? What would you say?
I'd say this, Alex. Picasso gives us permission. Permission to see differently. To fail publicly. To be misunderstood. To evolve without apology.
That's bigger than art.
It is. Picasso's legacy isn't a painting. It's an attitude. A refusal to accept that things must stay the way they are.
And that might be his most disruptive contribution.
Definitely. Because once you accept that reality can be reimagined, you can't unsee it. Picasso opens that door and never closes it.
So loving Picasso isn't required.
No, Emma would never say you have to love him, but you do have to confront him. Because ignoring Picasso means ignoring one of the clearest examples of what creative courage looks like.
And creative courage is rare.
Very rare. And that's why, decades later, we're still here talking about him.
It feels like Picasso didn't just leave art behind, he left a challenge.
Yes, and maybe that challenge is simple, Alex. Don't copy. Don't obey blindly. Don't settle for what's already accepted. Look again. Think again. Create again.
That sounds like a perfect closing thought.
Then let me end it this way. Picasso wasn't asking us to understand his paintings. Emma believes he was asking us to question our vision. And once you do that, nothing looks the same again.